We're not far away now for the first race of First Focus Radical Cup Australia. But before we set the cars out on track, let's check in with one of the characters of the field, one of our AM class drivers, Jim Hernandez.
Jim.
Railsy, good to see you.
Thanks for talking. First question, that's not an Aussie accent. How have you ended up in Australia racing in Radical Cup?
Well, that's two separate questions. How did I end up in Australia? Moved to Australia in 2006 from Los Angeles. I actually grew up in Texas, and a lot of people ask me when I'm going to lose my US accent. I think the answer is never. I've been told not to try to put on an Aussie accent, so I am what I am. How did I end up racing? The first 20 years of my girls' lives was all about them, and when my youngest turned 18, I decided that now was time for a little me time, so I started racing in 2019 and went straight into radicals. I like the rawness of the Radical. It's a great race car. It's a proper race car. You feel it all. But also it's a safe car to drive. You have a really safe cage around you. You get to keep your hands on the wheels. It's paddle shift. And just the price point as well. I really like the way the whole package came together.
You're with Volante Rosso, great race team, a lot of success, a lot of experience. What do you get out of working with this group of people?
Volante Rosso are an amazing team to work with. In addition to looking after the car and prepping it properly, they give me a lot of coaching and a lot of driver development. I'm really noticing that ever since working with Volante Rosso, I'm continuing to improve, which for me, I do this for fun. Thankfully, I don't have to make a living, and they make it fun by helping me improve.
This category is known for being very competitive, but it's also known for being great fun. Is it that element of both that you enjoy about being in the paddock?
It is, and there's a third element as well, which is I think all of the caliber of driving, and I'm not including myself here, but the caliber of the field and the respect that everybody gives each other is really amazing. So if you take that competitive level and you take the fact that we're going sometimes down the straight 240 kilometers an hour, and you may be driving literally that close to somebody, you have to have a lot of respect for that person, and the field does that really well, which is quite nice.
You've stepped up this year, brand new car to the XXR. Just talk about the difference this car's made and what it's like to drive the latest Gen SR3.
I believe the XXR has a little bit better aero package. It has a little bit better torque, so I get that speed out of the turns. I like the way you sit in the car and the steering wheel, and as a whole package, it's just, I find it easier for an amateur to drive.
Final one. We get to the end of the year, you look back at this season. What do you look back on and go, yep, that was a great year, yep, I've achieved what I wanted to achieve?
At the start of the year, I actually set forth in conjunction with Josh Hunt and Chris Papadopoulos of Volante Rosso. We outline a set of performance objectives. That's partly due to my past background and what I used to do with large companies. But we agree on a set of performance objectives at the start of the year, and then I measure those after every round. And at the end of the year, I'll look back and see, even though I feel good, did it show up in the results? And that's what I'll check.
Nice. Thanks for talking. Go well this season and enjoy the weekend here in Queensland.
Thank you very much. You really will. Appreciate it.
Great to hear from Jim Hernandez there. Unfortunately for him, he'll be starting off the back of the grid, position 13 for Jim Hernandez, the man formerly of Los Angeles. But right now, here we are at Queensland Raceway for round 3 of the Shannon Speed Series. And this will be the first race of the First Focus Radical Cup Australia. And it'll be Peter Paddon and Cooper Cutts on the front row of the grid. Thomas Randall joins me, Cameron Vandendungen in the commentary box. We're about to roll out on field for a 23-minute plus 1 lap race. 2 points went the way of Cooper Cutts after his 2 pole position laps earlier today.
That was a very entertaining last few minutes of qualifying, wasn't it, Cameron? We saw they all went out on the wet tyre and quickly realised, oh, hang on, I think we all need to go to slicks. So everyone made the change to the slicks, and Cooper Cutts came in, bled the pressures down, and managed to get those 2 laps in with about 4 minutes remaining. And as Peter Paddon looked to try and threaten that, we had the red flag down at turn number 6. So got those laps in at the right time. Pole position for all 3 races. The third race being the endurance race, and it's an average, if you like, of the 2 fastest laps from qualifying. So Cooper Cutts bit of pocket money as well. He can go to the bank, so he'll be, I think, $500 richer with the two $250 pole position checks there.
I think what's more important for him, though, with the 2 additional points for his series run, he was 17 points in the lead as he came into this weekend. He's now 19 points, and this is how they'll start. Race number 1 for the First Focus Radical Cup Australia. Cooper Cutts, we mentioned before, will be on pole for both races, actually all 3 races, as you mentioned. And alongside him, his key title protagonist, Peter Paddon, the rating champion for the Radical Cup Australia. Zig Vermeister did an outstanding job as our AM class driver, 3rd outright. Chris Reindler, well, he's also going to be out of the 2nd row with Bryce Moore, his co-driver, Terry Knowles and Bradley Russell, row number 3. Stephen Champion, Bill Medland, Peter Clare, Cirillo Hadid, Sue Hughes, and then the last driver on the grid will be Jim Hernandez. They roll into position side by side. It'll be a rolling start. The clock has already started to count down. And by the time we take the green flag to start the racing in earnest, there'll be less than 20 minutes plus 1 lap remaining in this event. Cooper Cutts, Peter Paddon. They've taken all 7 wins so far between them. Cooper Cutts with 5 wins next to his name this season in 2025, 2 for Peter Paddon. And Peter Paddon has been great with his results thus far. Cars into position now. You're joining us on 7 Mate around Australia, the first race for the First Focus Radical Cup Australia of this weekend. We're in the hands of the starters. Lights out, and we're racing here at Queensland Raceway. And straight away, Cooper Cutts dives across to cover off Peter Paddon. Peter Paddon looks to the inside. They just about touch wheels through turn number 1, all clean through turn 1, heading up to turn 2, and Peter Paddon now leads this race.
That was a cracking move down the inside of Peter Paddon. I thought for a minute there that Cooper Cutts had the race lead. He actually got the jump on Peter Paddon, moved to the outside, and then Paddon put a dive bomb into turn 1 and has taken over the lead from Cooper Cutts as Zig Vermeister hanging on to 3rd position still from Bryce Moore. So 3rd and 4th have remained in position there as they go side by side down into turn number 4. Not much that Bryce Moore can really do on the outside there, but what a fantastic move into turn 1 for Peter Paddon. And he really had to do that if he wants to make any ground up on Cooper Cutts in the championship.
Now this critical, Bryce Moore runs wide on the exit of turn number 5. So Bryce Moore, he was trying to put the move on Zig Vermeister, and he's now lost at least 1, maybe 2 positions because the tyres will be cold and wet.
Here comes Terry Knowles as well, round the outside. That's going to be tough as well, and Bryce Moore's going to have a bit of, well, it's going to have some dirty, wet tyres there, so it's a case of trying to get them back up to grip and get all that dirt off there, and he's managed to hold off Terry Knowles, so he's only lost, what, 2 or 1 position out of that at the end of the day, so not the end of the world.
But it was really a swing because he was about to put a move on Zig Vermeister, so he was attempting to make a move for 3rd, finds himself in 5th, and it was oh so close to being dropped all the way back to 6th. So a fair bit of work to go now for Bryce Moore, who'll be handing the car over to Chris Reindler on the other side of the pit stop. Well, so throughout this weekend.
We've just been told by our expert weather reporter / guru, Richard Crail, who's been out for a bit of a wander, saying that there is rain falling. So,
well, that's why he came straight back into the box. You'll never catch Richard Crail out in the rain. That's why he became a commentator in the first place. Peter Paddon, Cooper Cutts, Zig Vermeister, as you're hearing him on the microphone in the background. So we've got our 2 Pro-Ams in control of this race. The gap, 1.3 seconds between the 2 of them, and Peter Paddon is continuing to set purple sector after purple sector.
Now we'll just have to see what happens with the weather, because if it does absolutely bucket down, these cars, they aren't really equipped to do pit stops, if you like, so it could potentially be a case of, if it's that bad weather-wise, they may have to potentially red flag it, change tyres, then send everyone back out, because there is no mandatory pit stop in this race, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens. So far, though, still dry out there, as is that Bryce Moore making that move onto Russell, regaining 4th position, and nicely done down at turn number 3. Now he can try and claw back some time onto Zig Vermeister, but I tell you what, Peter Paddon is not mucking around here, Cameron. He's put 1.6 seconds on Cooper Cutts.
Yeah, but look who's just fought back. Cooper Cutts now fastest middle sector of all, so he's minimised the damage now. 1.5 seconds between the two of them. So it's holding there as Bryce Moore, who was the fast driver yesterday in Friday through practice, but just wasn't able to get the job done through qualifying, was Bryce Moore. He's back up into fourth and is looking up the road now to Zig Furmeister, the first of our AM class cars.
Peter really caught Cooper off guard there at turn 1. I think Cooper thought that he was relatively safe and had the job done. It was reminiscent slightly of Piastri and Verstappen at Imola, albeit Verstappen went around the outside at turn number 1, or turn 2 if you like. So that was a case of Piastri thinking the job was done, and I think Cooper would have thought the same, and moving back over to the left-hand side, trying to get the best run through turn 1. And unfortunately for him, he's lost out to the lead for Peter Paddon.
All settling down now in the first race for the first Focus Radical Cup. It's Paddon, Cutts, Furmeister and Moore, your top 4. And we're going to take a very quick break. Russell, Knowles in 5th and 6th. We look back to Champion and Cirillo in 7th and 8th. And Jim Hernandez out of 13th has made his way up into the top 10 now and edging ever closer. In fact, he's up into 9th through on Medland as Claire is out of this race. Didn't take the start, in fact. So Sue Hughes, the last of the runners, in 12th. As we see, Peter Paddon, the race leader, just duck into turn 1, followed by Cooper Cutts, and there's Zig Furmeister. And the gap now between Bryce Moore and Zig Furmeister down to 1.8 seconds. So that is the battle for the final spot on the podium.
Yeah, they're trading lap times at the moment, Furmeister and Moore, and Paddon, that last sector, he's just got so much confidence over Cooper Cutts. That's really where he's finding the time. And on that last lap alone, Peter Paddon put another 0.4 of a second on Cooper Cutts. So it's sort of a bit of a role reversal from the last time out at Sydney Motorsport Park, because it was Cooper Cutts that was doing this to Peter Paddon, getting into the lead and extending the advantage, where now Peter's doing that to Cooper Cutts. So they're just trading middle sectors, but yeah, that final sector, Peter Paddon really has got Cooper Cutts covered. So if he can just keep extending that margin, or even just control it from here, I mean, it's one thing. If Cooper Cutts can catch Peter Paddon, that's one thing, but passing is another.
Absolutely correct there, Thomas Randall. As another fastest lap of the race is set by Peter Paddon out in front. The gap, 2.4 seconds now. So the new benchmark time in this race is a 1:10.4. It was 2/10. In fact, it was 2.5 tenths clear that last lap around between the first two. So you can see Cirillo on screen. He's in a battle with Champion. There's the 34 of Champion, who's just behind Terry Knowles, who we mentioned before. So Terry Knowles on screen. He's down in 6th place at the moment. So we're watching the battle over 6th position, and just up the road from there is Russell. So there might be a move put on very shortly here in the battle for the minor placings. And we see now as they make their way up to the inside of the paperclip again. The racing has levelled out, and Peter Paddon is in full control here. 2.1 seconds, the margin between himself and Cooper Cutts. They're the title rivals. Peter Paddon currently sits 2nd in the series. As we look further back down the order, this is a move between Cirillo and Champion. Champion trying to hold out Cirillo in the battle over 7th, and that's allowing Terry Knowles to skip off into the distance. And he's looking to get into the top 5 if he can get past Russell, who's up in front of him. But right now, the battle really heating up as Champion tries to hold out Cirillo. Cirillo will put a move on up at turn 3, the end of the back straight.
Well, Russell got that move done on Terry Knowles a bit earlier on, because Knowles qualified in 5th position in the Oznets Radical, number 68, SR3 XXR. But Russell got that move done on him. So there's some good pace in the number 18 Radical. But Cooper Cutts now, he's applying the pressure. 3/10 in Sector 1 on Paddon. 3/10 in Sector 2 on Paddon. So he's already made up over 6/10 on this lap alone. But Paddon has been strong here in the final sector. So as they cross the line, we'll see what the lap times are. So it's a 1:10.5 for Paddon. It's a 1:09.9
Yeah, this is
for Cooper Cutts.
where I was going to go, Thomas, and we've got you in here as a professional race car driver. We've watched earlier today, Paddon came out of the blocks firing once they went to the dry weather tyre, the slick tyre. But Cooper Cutts came on right at the end of the session. So tyre pressures, they may have set them up to go aggressive early for Peter Paddon, but maybe Cooper Cutts has played the long game to have the car underneath him towards the back end of the race.
Well, I mean, Paddon certainly had the confidence at the start of the race. We saw that pretty much at straight away into turn one. We got that move done on Cooper, and Peter's just set his fastest first sector on this lap, but Cooper Cutts has gone even quicker and is purple to the race.
Yeah, it's also the new race lap record here with a 1:09.9. The previous race lap record was set back in 2022 by Mitch Nielsen with a 1:10.3. So the first time we've seen the Radical Cup Australia entries go sub 1 minute 10 here at Queensland Raceway.
Yeah, that's pretty quick in race trim. And I tell you what, this is the perfect conditions because the threat of rain is, we would have thought, imminent. It's sort of all around the track, but not on the circuit. So the air density is up, which means, I guess, more downforce as well, because with...
Now, you actually sold us, or you fed us that Richard Craill was the rain barometer. He was the man with all of the information. Over the 2 decades that I've been commentating with him, I could tell you, whatever he says, just go the opposite direction. So there's the 34 right now on screen, and he's nodding in agreement because he knows exactly what I'm talking about as we see Champion and Cirillo still battling out over 7th. Out there, it's like the rain is going all around this circuit. It just seems to have a dome over the top. There's a little bit of moisture in the air, but it's not doing anything to the race surface, as we know by both drivers in first and second going below the race lap record, because now Peter Paddon holds the new race lap record here for Radicals.
So he's responded there on that last lap. But even on this lap alone, Cooper's found another 3/10 as side by side goes Cirillo and Champion. And that, I think, is the move done for Cirillo on Champion, because what happened at the previous corner was Champion was actually looking at trying to put a move on Terry Knowles, and I think he's lost out on the exit there. And now Cirillo's been released, and whether or not he can catch on the back of Terry Knowles.
We're inside the final 10 minutes now for the first race of First Focus Radical Cup Australia, here as part of the Event Elect GT Festival Queensland and the Shannon's Speed Series. It's Peter Paddon from Cooper Cutts, Zig Furmeister and Bryce Moore round out the top 4. We look back to Russell and Knowles in 5th and 6th, and stick around, there's plenty more racing coming up on the other side of this. So heading down the inside of the circuit, the inside of the paperclip, turn number 5 is car number 1, your race leader, Peter Paddon. And Cooper Cutts fighting back again now with a new fastest first sector, and the gap only 1.5 seconds with 8 minutes 42 plus 1 lap remaining.
Yeah, they're just trading times now, aren't they? Trading lap records as well. It's a 1/10 of a second between their fastest laps of this race, as Cirillo now has gotten past Terry Knowles on this lap. So that's another position forward. And I say the gap, he's about 2.5 seconds back from Russell. But yeah, Cirillo's got that move done somewhere around the circuit and up into 6th position. So the gap between Furmeister and Moore is less than a second, down to 7/10.
Ooh, look at that again. 22.7, 3/10. It's down to 1.3. It looks like Cooper Cutts is fastest through the first sector, but Peter Paddon's so strong, as you mentioned before, in that final sector. That's really the difference between the two. And they just seem to cancel each other out. As strong as Cooper Cutts is in the first sector, Peter Paddon is equally as strong in the final sector and just not able to get much closer than 1.3 seconds.
Well, it's now down to just under 1.3 seconds, and with 7.5 minutes remaining, it's now or never, really, for Cooper Cutts to see if he can make more gains. But on this lap at the moment, he's looking to eclipse the new lap record, which is now 109.85 for Peter Paddon. As he crosses the line, it's a 109.609, and he's taken a further 3.5 tenths out of Peter Paddon. So that gap down to 1.2 seconds. And Moore setting his fastest lap of the race. They're back in the 1:10.4.
Yeah, he's only half a second off. That's the battle you're seeing right now. The 28 of Bryce Moore starting to apply the pressure to the AM class entry of Zig Furmeister as Cooper Cuts goes fastest again through the first sector and is about to go below 1 second. The battle raging now over first and second and third and fourth. Move about to get done here. We're not far away from some position changes. The race is heating up here with 6.5 minutes remaining on screen. You see the battle over third spot. Zig Furmeister trying to hold out a hard-charging Bryce Moore. And just up the road from these two, it's getting ever closer. It's at the 1 second barrier between Peter Paddon and Cooper Cuts. But this could be a move. Zig Furmeister, the fastest of our AM class drivers and third outright on track at the moment. Holding out Bryce Moore, the fast man from Friday, currently sits third in the title chase for 2025.
And he'll share the Enduro with Chris Reindler tomorrow afternoon as well. So that's, keep an eye out for that 50-minute race tomorrow afternoon. But the gap in front, 1 second between Peter Paddon, another purple first sector for Cooper Cuts, and the gap's down to 0.7 of a second. So great battle for the lead coming up here, and then this battle for third position between Bryce Moore and Zig Furmeister. Now, where can he get the move done?
He's running very nicely through turn number 3 on exit. Now he's got to run to the outside, but he's covered off by Zig Furmeister.
Can he go for a dive bomb? He has gone for a dive bomb down to turn number 4. Gets it stopped, no lockups. And I think that's a position change as he moves up into third place. So great move down the inside of Zig Furmeister. Zig saw him coming, left him just enough room to get down the inside.
He also propped it mid-corner as well, just to stop the run for the over-under from Zig Furmeister. So quite heads-up driving from Bryce Moore.
Yeah, it's a tough one to, you'd have to really run on wide there to get an over-under done on you there, because the run to turn 5 is quite short. Speaking about short is the distance between these two, between Paddon and Cuts. You could nearly throw a blanket over them. They're that close now.
So we'll put away the timing charts because it's less than half a second, and we look now to the screens because Peter Paddon, Cooper Cuts with 4.5 minutes plus 1 lap remaining. The race is on. Remember, coming here, 5 wins for the season to the man that sits in second. 2 wins for the season. It's the man who sits in first, and they're the only 2 that have won this year in First Focus Radical Cup Australia. Round 3, the halfway point of this season, and the race is coming alive.
And Peter Paddon's going to want to try and hang on to this lead, this victory, because not only the points that he will acquire from this, but if they switch positions, it'll be a big swing in points, because not only will he be gaining positions, it goes from that to then actually losing out. Not only getting less points, but it'll be more gain for Cooper Cuts. So Cooper looking really strong there out of turn number 2. I think it's not far away from Peter Paddon going to have to cover for Cooper Cuts.
It looks like the tyres are just going away from him. He just couldn't get it to take a set through turn number 2, and yet Cooper Cuts look absolutely hooked up.
Well, he's got 3 minutes remaining to try and hang on to the victory here, hang on to the lead. And both those boys will know how long's left. Their driver coaches or engineers, they'll be on the radio saying 3 minutes remaining, probably 3 or 4 laps. And the gap to third is about 12, 13 seconds. So, I mean, they could battle for a fair while before third place gets involved. They just have to be careful that they don't actually have it coming together. But I'll tell you what, Cooper Cuts really strong under brakes there. We know how good that car and that driver is in the final sector. So as they cross the line, gap 0.3 of a second, and Cooper Cuts will be all in Peter Paddon's mirrors at the moment.
Down through turn number 1, and you can see just how much it turns in. The advantage is certainly to Cooper Cuts. Runs a little bit wider on exit, just as he's trying to keep the momentum through turn number 2.
Getting a little bit of a toe here as well. Down into turn number 3, not too far back at the moment for a move. And what I think Cooper Cutts will be doing now, Cameron, is he'll just be studying the back of Peter Paddon in these laps going, okay, I know where his strengths and his weaknesses are. And what Cooper will be doing is thinking about, okay, if I'm going to try and put a move on him, where will be the best spot? Or where can I set him up? It could be a case of setting him up at turn 3 to try and put a move on at turn 6. You know, hold him out narrow for 4, get the run, all those sorts of things. And they're not actually that far away from potentially catching some lap traffic as well. But as the clock counts down, 1 minute and 30 remaining, we may only get a couple more laps here.
Yeah, so watching from the outside, and let's look at the body language of the car through turn 1 and 2. Thomas, I want your take on this, because it looks to me that the 16 of Cooper Cutts has better turn in, and that the 1 just loses it a bit at the highest load mid part of the corner. We'll come back to that shot in a second. There is the battle further down the order for Champion and Hernandez, but out in front, Paddon and Cutts, well, they were 4/10. We're about to have a look through turn 2 before. Now we see the move trying to be put on by Hernandez, who's come out of position 13 to start.
Champion's just run wide there, tried to cover, locked the brake and gone wide. And I think that'll be a move for our feature man earlier at the start of this race. Mr. Jim Hernandez moves up into 8th position. So out in front, the gap down to less than 3/10 of a second between Paddon and Cooper Cutts. Here we are, back to our race leader. And something's happened to Cooper Cutts, because he's gone from, they must have maybe had a battle potentially.
Well, hopefully we'll find out what happened there. But something has occurred, because now they were down to only 2/10 of a second, and now it's out to 2 seconds.
Get a replay now. Here goes down the inside. Is there contact? There is contact. Cooper Cutts up on the curb, and he's had half a spin after that. That contact sent the car sideways, managed to gather it up and not fully rotate. I'll tell you what, he had a crack there down at turn number 3, but lucky for both of them that they didn't actually get more contact or both end up in the gravel on the outside. But that was, yeah, an attempt at a move for Cooper Cutts.
So we've got 1 lap remaining at the end of this one. Peter Paddon holds a commanding 1.7 second lead as a result of the contact and the half spin from Cooper Cutts' last lap around at turn number 3. The gap 1.7 seconds with a lap and a half to go. Certainly in control of Peter Paddon, who looks to make it 3 race wins to his name this season.
Yeah, that's going to be good for his championship for Peter Paddon to try and make back some ground on Cooper Cutts, who had a faultless round last time out at Sydney Motorsport Park. So Peter Paddon, that move into turn 1, that has just been the move of the race, hasn't it? That's what's sealed the deal so far as they start the final lap of what is the first of 3 races for the first Focus Radical Cup Australia this weekend. Peter Paddon has not put a foot wrong. There's been a little bit of tensions boiling over on the previous lap at turn 3, or 2 laps prior. Thankfully, everyone got away with it scot-free. And Peter Paddon looking good here to take victory in the opening race. Bryce Moore, 3rd position, and he's about 13 seconds back from this battle pack. Zig Furmeister in 4th, Cirillo 5th, Russell 6th, Terry Knowles, Jim Hernandez rounding out the top 8.
2.3 seconds, the gap between 1st and 2nd, but it wasn't that throughout. Peter Paddon, he started in 2nd place with a decisive move at turn 1 on the first lap. He got himself into control out in front as the rain starts to fall and only a couple of corners to go. Peter Paddon, he's been fighting Cooper Cutts throughout the season so far. 2 race wins to his name coming here. This will be his 11th career win, tying equal most with Cooper Cutts. And he wins the first race of the first Focus Radical Cup Australia at the Event Elect GT Festival Queensland. As there's the 16 of Cooper Cutts, who's run off the track as a result of the rain. And he's dropping down the order, which means
Brad Moore will move up into 2nd position. And it seems like it's only raining at the moment at a certain area of the track. So that moves Moore up, and I think as well
Cirillo got through, and look at the point swing all of a sudden. Remember, it's 19 points separating the 2 of them.
I think Zig Furmeister had a moment as well, because he's dropped down also. So that middle sector must be wetter than the rest of the track at the moment, you can actually see the rain now falling. So these guys will be, well, for Cooper Cutts, he would have hoped that it finished a lap earlier.
Remember, it was 17 points coming into the weekend, and as we look at the points right now, and remember he's taking into account the 2 points he got for the pole positions, 15-point swing as a result of coming off the track. So it's only 2 points he'll be leading with at the end of this race. So huge moment in the title battle with that spin for Cooper Cutts, or running wide, I should say. Losing those 2 spots has meant that this is well and truly alive now. So the official results for the First Focus Radical Cup Australia: Peter Paddon gets the race win from Bryce Moore. Mark Cirillo snuck through onto the podium as well, and Cooper Cutts, halfway through the last lap, throws it off in the rain, and now all of a sudden his title lead has been cut right back to only 2 points. Bradley Russell in 5th, Terry Knowles in 6th, Jim Hernandez, Zig Furmeister, after his moment out on track, comes home in 8th. Stephen Champion, Bill Medland, Ibi Hadid and Sue Hughes, the last of our runners. Peter Clare did not take the start of that race. So 12 runners, 12 finishes as part of race number 1. So here are the highlights of race 1 for the First Focus Radical Cup Australia. It was a great start by Cooper Cutts off the line. He dived to the outside of the track, but then Peter Paddon fired it up the inside into turn 1, and from there he took control of the race. There was some dukes going on behind the scene as we saw Bryce Moore running wide on the exit of turn number 5. He had to work very hard to get himself back up into the battle. This battle here at 34 between Champion and Zig, well, that wasn't Zig Furmeister, but some of the other drivers down there, was on from very early on, and Bryce Moore made his way back through Zig Furmeister late in that race. And here was the moment where we thought Cooper Cutts was about to get through on Peter Paddon. He had a big look up the inside at turn number 3, and the half spin meant that was his race run and done. The rain fell halfway through the last lap, and Peter Paddon held onto it to get his 11th career win in Radical Cup. But Cooper Cutts threw it off the track and dropped all the way back to 4th. That means Peter Paddon got a nice big points haul. He's got 60 points to his name for this race so far, and Cooper Cutts back with only 45 points at the end of it. So massive ramifications off the back of that last lap in our First Focus Radical Cup Australia. Let's go and hear now from our race winner with Charlie Barlow.
Peter Paddon, congratulations. Race 1 win, championship lead now. Talk us through that move on Cooper Cutts.
Yeah, it was a little bit sneaky, I think. All weekend everyone's been talking about going side by side through 1. So I thought do something a little bit different and sneak in behind him and go across the other side, something he wasn't expecting, and it worked. So yeah, pretty happy with that. And then yeah, the race evolved. We set the car up so the tyres would come on pretty early, and they did. And the car was quick early, and then the tyre went away at the end of the race. Yeah, I was just holding him up.
It really was a nail biter, and then the rain changed everything.
Yeah, the rain came in. I'm so glad it didn't come in 2 laps earlier. That last lap was super sketchy. Coming out of 5, had a big moment, and yeah, I thought, oh God, I've thrown it all away for a second. But yeah, the last lap was very sketchy. Yeah, you know, I've got a sore neck from looking at the sky all day long. So you know, I don't know what's going to happen next.
You're closer to the sky than I am.
Yeah, it doesn't help.
Biggest question though, can you pass him again tomorrow?
Oh yeah, we'll give it a crack, hey? Why not?
Might as well. Congratulations. Bryce Moore, let's hop on in and have a quick chat. Congratulations, a podium, which we wasn't sure wasn't going to happen for you because you fell back and then you climbed back up. So talk us through your race.
Firstly, apologies for my hat hair, or my helmet hair. Look, it was just a really bad start, unfortunately. It was a good start, and then Cooper kind of stopped in the corner and just caused a bit of havoc for me. And then as I came through 5, just got real bad aero wash, which put me in the mud there. So Brad got past me, so hard work from there. But yeah, managed to come through, and once I got up to Zig, the aero wash came back in again, so had to be pretty sort of decisive with my moves. But once I was clear, I was managed to push on. I think realistically in the older spec car, it's, you know, 3rd is as good as we are. Just got a bit lucky there with Cooper, which is very unfortunate. Don't wish that upon anyone. But yeah, very happy with the result. Managed to bank some points, so yeah, looking forward to the next one.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations. Enjoy it and see you tomorrow.
Always, thank you.
and Mark Cirillo. Wow, what a turn up for the books, sir. Unfortunately, Cooper Cuts did come undone with the rain, but then that sees you come here. So
I got a bit lucky in the end with a couple of cars coming off. I was a bit unlucky. I got caught out in qualifying with the rain. Obviously, co-drivers only get 15 minutes, so I had to start near the back. So bit of red mist and off we go.
well, that's what you need, isn't it? It worked for you. But talk us through it and those final laps as the rain was coming in.
I saw a car, I don't know, 30, 40 metres ahead, and I saw the rain coming, so I was just hoping that he slowed down a bit, had a moment, and then I could capitalise, and it actually happened. So, yeah, pretty stoked.
Absolutely, you've got to be there to capitalise, haven't you?
That's it. Thanks.
Well, congratulations, everyone. Breathe, and we go again tomorrow.
Thank you.
Well done down there, Charlie Barlow. That was the first of our races this weekend for the Radicals. We've got so much more coming up, though, with the Shannon Speed Series. Stick around on 7 Mate.